going to show you how to make the Poinsettia Bunting from Kreative Kiwi. And for this I'm going to be using a 5x7 hoop, 2 layers of wash away stabiliser, a selection of threads, my squizzers, a tassel, masking tape and my fabrics and batting cut to size. Underneath in the video description you will find a link to this design, as well as lots of other useful information for you as well, so please do take the time to have a look. We're going to start off by hooping our 2 layers of wash away stabiliser. And then we're going to pin it around the top edge of the hoop to keep it nice and taut. So take your pin, and you can use any pins, they don't have to be anything special as long as they've got a head. Rest it on the top of your hoop, push it through and bring it back round, and that will anchor your stabiliser. The bigger the hoop, the more pins you use. We're now going to load the front file into your machine and then stitch round number 1, which is going to give you your placement outline. Now you can put your quilting thread into your machine and that will save you having to change colours before you reach that stage. I'm going to use red so that you can see what I'm doing. If you're going to add a tassel, now is the time to do so. So place it down and then use a bit of tape to hold it in place. Then you're going to place your batting up to the first line here. And tape it in place. I find that a thinner batting on the front is better than thick, because when you come to join the front to the back, if you're using the same size or same thickness of batting, it's quite bulky. Next you're going to pop your hoop back into your machine and stitch round number 2, and that's going to secure your batting and your tassel to the hoop. Remove your tape for the batting, but leave behind the one holding your tassel out of the way, and then you're going to trim up the excess batting from around the edge of the stitch line. Next you're going to take your fabric, and I've pressed a crease in mine. You're going to line the crease up with this placement line there. So I'm going to fold that back a second so that it's folded the opposite way. Place that down and then that goes up. And then we're going to tape that in place. We're now going to pop that into your machine and stitch round number 3 to secure it. Next is the quilting, so make sure that you've got the right colour for that loaded into your machine. And then you're going to stitch round number 4. Load the colour that you want for the decorative scroll into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 5. Load the base colour thread for your leaves into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 6. Load the colour that you want for the leaf detail into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 7. Load your thread colour for the red leaf base into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 8. Load your thread colour for the leaf detail into your machine. I'm using a reddy brown, and then you're going to stitch round number 9. Load your thread colour for the centre of the flower into your machine. I'm using Harvest Gold, and then you're going to stitch round number 10. So that's all the stitching done of the front. We're now going to trim away the excess fabric from around this part. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm cutting up at an angle towards this line here. Take care not to cut your tassel off if you've got one. I'm going to come out at an angle this side as well. We can now free this from the hoop, so turn your hoop over. I'm going to remove the tape from the tassel first. And take care not to cut that off when you're removing it from the hoop. We're now going to fold this over along this line here and try and get it straight, and now we're going to cut around the edge of this, and this is going to shape our lining as well. So I'm just going to pop a little pin in there just to hold it all together. And you're going to cut through this as well, so you don't have to worry about that. And just follow the contour of the front. If I open that out, you'll see that that's the lining and that's the front. If you want to unpick this line of stitching, you can. It's not going to be seen, so I don't bother. You're now going to load your chosen back file into your machine, and I've chosen a number for this one because I'm going to turn this into an advent calendar. Then you're going to hoop and pin 2 layers of wash away stabiliser. Pop your hoop into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 1, and that's going to give you your placement outline for your batting. You can load your quilting thread into your machine straight away. That will save you changing thread colours unnecessarily. I'm going to stitch mine in red so that you can see what I'm doing though. Place your batting over the outline and then tape it in place. Pop your hoop back into your machine and stitch round number 2 to secure it. Remove the tape, and then you're going to trim up the excess batting. Place your front fabric face up over the outline and then tape it in place. Pop your hoop back into your machine and stitch round number 3 to secure it. If you haven't done so already, load your thread colour for the quilting into your machine and then stitch round number 4. Load your thread for the letter or number into your machine and then you're going to stitch round number 5. You're now going to add your backing fabric, so turn your hoop over, place your backing fabric over the outline and then tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 6 to secure it. We're now going to remove the excess fabric and batting from the eyelets, both front and back. So turn your hoop over. I'm just going to trim these threads up quickly. Take your stitch unpicker and you're going to put it through the fabric only. Be careful not to cut the stabiliser because you're going to need that when you do the satin stitching around the edges. So just insert it slowly so that you create a little slit. Do the same the other side. And I'm going to do the front ones at the same time. Back to the back, and we're now just going to trim out the fabric from that area. And now the same on the front, and you're going to trim away the batting as well. Make sure you do a good job of the batting because otherwise you're going to have threads poking through your satin stitching and you don't really want that. Okay, now going to trim away the excess fabric from around the edges, both back and front. Okay, we're now going to take our front and with the back lining folded over, get it lined up so that it's all flush on the edges, and then you're going to place that down over the top of the bottom, the backing, sorry. And then you're going to tape it in place. Now I'm taping to the left side because it's going to stitch this on in 2 halves. To make sure that your tassel is kept out of the way as well, so I'm going to put a piece of tape over that just to keep that secure. So we're now going to stitch round number 7, and that's going to zigzag along here down to about there. Before you stitch, you might want to load your thread for the satin stitching that's going to go around the border and the eyelets, and you will also want to slow your machine down as well as much as possible. If you haven't got a setting that you can do that with, you can use the start and stop button. If you're happy with the alignment, You can now remove the tape holding the other side in place. You want to leave the one for your tassel though. And then you're going to stitch round number 8. I'm just going to remove this last piece of tape. If you haven't done so already, load your matching bobbin and thread for the red, or for the satin stitch border should I say, into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 9. And that's the stitching complete. You may, depending on the thickness of your front with the fabric and the batting, get an area that isn't completely covered by stitching. And it's a really simple fix. Get yourself a set of Sharpies, they're indispensable, and then just colour in the areas. They're permanent, so they won't wash out. And they're all gone. We're now going to free this from the hoop. So take care not to cut your tassel off. Just run our scissors around the edge. All that remains for us to do now is to dissolve the excess stabiliser from around the edge. You'll want a glass of warm water and a cotton bud. Dip the bud in and just run it round the edges. And that's your bunting finished, and you're ready to thread onto ribbon. I hope you enjoyed this stitch along. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon to be notified of new videos as they're published. Do pop along to Kreative Kiwi's Facebook group. There's lots of help, ideas and inspiration there for everybody. And thank you very much for joining me.